When somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
That was Donald Trump during his coronavirus press conference, or at least what he tries to pretend is a coronavirus press conference. It's really nothing more than an election rally. He was arguing that he is the individual who has the complete authority to force governors to open their local economies, open up their business in the middle of this pandemic. Let's hear a little more from his argument.
If a governor issued a stay-at-home order...
When you say my authority, the president's authority, not mine, because it's not me. This is when somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
Total. Your authority is total.
It's total. It's total. And the
is
governors
total.
know that.
So if a
The governors know that. Now you have a couple of bands of excuse me. You have a couple.
Could you rescind that order?
You have a couple of bands of Democrat governors, but they will agree to it. They will agree to it. But the authority of the President of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
So he says he has total authority over the states. Turns out that's not the case. But Cenk, go ahead. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, that's what he says now. But I want to give you two quotes from President Trump. Did I just call him President Chump? It's a good Freudian slip. So as you just saw there in the video, he said, when somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. Now, remember, earlier, when asked about his response to the coronavirus pandemic, he had said, quote, I don't take responsibility at all. So let me get this right. You have complete authority, but no responsibility. How does that work? And by the way, I put that up on social media, and Trump supporters literally are defending it, saying, no, those are two different things, man. Authority is like when you make people do stuff, which is awesome. But responsibility is like when you take responsibility for it, but that sucks, and nobody wants to take responsibility. So Trump is right. You should be able to make people do things in the name of freedom, and then, but like, don't have any individual responsibility at all, because that's what the Republican Party has been about this entire time. No individual responsibility, no personal responsibility, just authoritarian rule that's totally against freedom. What?
So let's watch one more video because he was challenged by CNN's Caitlin Collins on this issue. Maybe he'll elaborate more and maybe it'll make some sense. Who knows, Cenk? Let's take a look.
You said when someone is president of the United States, their authority is total. That is not true. Who
Okay,
told
you know what
that?
we're going to do? We're going to write up papers on this. It's not going to be necessary because the governors need us one way or the other, because ultimately it comes with the federal government. That being said, we're getting along very well with the governors, and I feel very certain that there won't be a problem. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Has any governor agreed that you have the authority to decide when their state
I haven't
opens
asked
back up?
anybody because
But
I
no one
don't.
has
You know why?
informed
Because
us
I don't
of
have
that.
to. Go ahead, please.
But who told you the president has the total authority?
Enough, please.
So in this regard, the president does not have total authority. It's just not how our country works. And I want to decode a little bit of what he's saying, because it's important to understand his motivations and his intentions. The reason why he doesn't want to take responsibility for his failures is because he wants to be able to tell governors that it's not his responsibility to provide ventilators from the national stockpile that he failed to replenish and maintain. He doesn't want to take responsibility because taking responsibility would mean that it could potentially hurt his political career, his chances of getting reelected. But when he talks about forcing governors to reopen their states, the reason why he wants to do that is because, as always, it's 100% self-interested, right? He doesn't want to take responsibility when it's not going to benefit him, but he certainly wants to have total authority when it comes to making a decision that positively impacts his personal finances, the economy, which could potentially help him in getting reelected. It's all about me, 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 me. It's not about keeping you safe. It's not about ensuring that as many lives as possible get saved. It's not about, working in a coordinated effort with governors to provide the medical supplies they need so our doctors and nurses remain safe and they don't die from this pandemic. He is the least suited person in this country, if not the world, to be the leader, because he is the most narcissistic, thin-skinned, egotistical monster imaginable. I mean, this is the perfect case of Murphy's Law. Just when you think it couldn't get worse, a pandemic hits while Donald Trump is the president of the United States. It's all about him and what benefits him. That's it. That's all that matters.
So I want to mainly talk about his ignorance. First, real quick, he tells a female reporter, enough, right? So, and she's asking the most legitimate question you could possibly ask. And that leads to Trump's ignorance. Where do you get this so-called authority? What are you referencing? So is it something in the Constitution? Is it in a law? Was it passed in your administration? Was it passed earlier? Under what authority would you tell the governors to open back up? And what does that mean to reopen the states or the economy? So the reality is there are actually specific answers to these. So the different governors have put in different laws saying that there are fines and penalties if you violate certain orders of the state governments. The federal government does not have policing power. So they would have no authority to tell the cops in New York or Alabama what to do or not to do, who to fine or not to fine within their state. They could impose other penalties on a federal level if that law was passed and Trump signed it into law. But Trump doesn't know any of this. He's a child. He doesn't know what's in the Constitution. He's 3 years into his term, and he doesn't know what the federal government does versus what the state governments do. And any pathetic attempt at trying to excuse his ignorance is exactly that. I mean, you look really stupid and pathetic when you go, oh, no, I bet he knows. I bet he knows. He's just choosing not to know. And you know, I mean, it's not in the Constitution. And I pretended as a conservative that I really cared about the Constitution. And I pretended that I cared about states' rights. But I'm going to pretend that the president has authority that's not written anywhere to do policing powers within the states. Really? And by the way, are you sure you want to agree to that? Because if we have a Democratic president and he says, oh, yeah, Trump just said I have absolute authority over all the states. Alabama, you no longer have any of the laws you thought you had. Now Joe Biden is going to decide your laws. And maybe he'll bring in Hillary Clinton to help him. Okay? That's not how our government works. But Republicans are generally too stupid to know that.
And what is interesting is when it came to Republican governors who refused to practice social distancing and shut down their states, there was a lot of pressure for Trump to say something and to do something. And he would say over and over again that he wants to leave it up to the governors. So he would use that line in protecting irresponsible Republican governors who don't care about their own constituents and would rather keep businesses open because all they see is money, right? But when it comes to forcing states to open up their businesses and stop the social distancing guidelines, oh, that's when the president has total authority. I mean, he is not fit to lead. He's not fit to lead. And by the way, 24 hours less than 24 hours before his little dictatorial rant, he tweeted this: governors, get your state's testing programs and apparatus perfected. Be ready. Big things are happening. No excuses. The federal government is there to help. We are testing more than any country in the world. Also gear up with face masks. So he's telling states like, yeah, get your testing apparatus together, okay? You got to perfect it. Yeah, we'll help. But it's really on you. We're here as like a supporting actor kind of situation. But again, when it comes to getting these states to do what he wants for his own personal political gain and financial gain, he has complete authority. Anyway.
Look, we've been over this, but if we had testing already, they could actually open up the country much quicker. But the moron didn't order more tests. So now the states need more tests that the federal government could have coordinated from the very beginning, but he took the whole month of February off. He didn't do any of that. And then in mid-March, after everyone told him, my God, this is going to be way worse, he finally began to realize that the governors were right in acting ahead of him. And now he has the temerity to turn around and say, oh, hey, why don't you guys order more tests or something? And by the way, even though I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to be a stupid moron that gives these press conferences and shows how ignorant I am, I'm going to claim that I have complete authority over you. Do you know who he was meeting with on February 27th as the coronavirus was raging? Silk and Diamond, or Diamond and Silk, whatever their name is. He had a meeting with them in the White House. That's why right now, he's like, oh, we have it under control. No, you don't, you moron. We have the most amount of cases in the world. We have over 600,000 positive cases of coronavirus in America, more than triple anyone else. And now we have 25,000 deaths, and we lead the world in number of dead people with coronavirus because our president is an idiot who didn't do anything.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.